Formula One has a problem that no one wants to admit. Now, before you guys crucify me in the comment section and throw dislikes at me like Lance Stroll throwing his car into the barriers in Saudi Arabia.
Lance Stroll into the barriers and out of the race.
Hit the wall.
Okay, can you bring it back, Lance?
No, in the wall.
Just please do hear me out. Now, obviously, a lot of you guys definitely expected me to complain about Max Verstappen's domination and are probably ready to type out, why are you hating on Max's domination when you didn't even say anything about Lewis's the past 7 years? Well, I have two things to say to you. One, I don't hate Max Verstappen. I think that no Formula One driver should be hated just because they're winning, including Lewis. And two, the reason why I did not comment about Lewis's domination is because I wasn't making videos 7 years ago. So while you guys were watching Lewis Hamilton's domination era, I was literally on my uncle's phone watching deleted scenes of the Cars movie that looked like this. But obviously, for you guys who clicked on this video, the thumbnail clearly has me stating that Formula One is boring. Now, I will elaborate more on that because the whole Formula One is boring thing is such a debatable topic. However, that actually isn't the focus of today's video. The main problem that Formula One has that no one is admitting is not that it's boring, but instead, Formula One is extremely predictable.
I can't believe how quiet the roads are this morning. I'm barely seeing any traffic at all.
What is not predictable though is today's sponsor, Private Internet Access. Private Internet Access is a VPN service, and if you guys don't know what that is, it's essentially a tool that hides your IP address and keeps you and your data safe when browsing on the internet. Or in other words, it's essentially Sergio Perez. You see, browsing on the internet without a VPN is like Max Verstappen trying to win the 2021 world title without the help of Checo. But with Checo, aka Private Internet Access, it defends your data from hackers, providers, and everyone else. And not only does it offer that, but this is you, aka Max Verstappen. That right there is geo-blocked websites you can't access. And what does Private Internet Access do? Well, it lets you right through. And all you need to do to get that is to turn the VPN on, choose from many different servers, and you get access to restricted content all around the world, with unlimited devices as well. Some examples are blocked Netflix shows, and by connecting to Austrian servers, there's actually a site where you can watch the entire Formula One season live for completely free. So check out the link in the description as well as pinned comment to get my personal code piavpn.com/rickf1 to get 83% off of your purchase. But anyways, back to Formula One. Now, of course, why is predictability a problem in F1? Well, you see, a couple weeks ago, I uploaded a video titled F1 is over before it even started. Now, you guys can go ahead and check out that masterpiece, but if you guys want a quick summary of that video, I pretty much have a nervous breakdown knowing damn well that Max is going to win every single race in 2024.
A 9th consecutive win. Max Verstappen, eat, sleep, win, repeat.
And every single non-Red Bull fan is going to be sentenced to hearing the Dutch national anthem every week until 2026. And I hereby sentence you to 2 years of hearing the Dutch national anthem every week without parole. But basically, I made that video right after preseason testing where I found out that people are calling Alpine's car a tractor. But anyways, in that video, I pretty much said that if Max does not win the first couple of races in 2024, I would chop my balls off. Which didn't end up happening because Max won in Bahrain by 22 seconds, meaning to say that my balls are 22,000% safe. So thank you so much, Max. I would personally give you the title of Dutch Minister of Ball Defense.
Wow!
But what surprised me the most after I posted that video and Max won in Bahrain and Saudi Arabia is the fact that there were so many people going back to that video commenting, oh my god, I can't believe he predicted it, or this video aged like fine wine, and even, oh my god, can you predict the future? That's just insane. Like, I appreciate every single one of y'all just straight up glazing me in the comment section, but no, alright? I can't tell the future. If I was able to, then I would probably have gotten a better score for my math exam. But let's not talk about that. Anyways, I managed to predict Max's domination, not because I did some crazy ass math. I literally just looked at 2023, read one article about Red Bull's development for 2024, and went, yup, Max is gonna win. And this is where the problem really stems from, because Formula One has been so predictable ever since the middle of 2023. Like, you would have to be blind, deaf, and brain dead to not be able to tell that Max is gonna dunk on everyone in 2024.
How do you feel after that? A bit disappointed, 45 seconds off the win? yeah, far off. I mean, Max was in a different galaxy.
Like, even me, being the most deluded Fernando Alonso fan, is able to give credit to how good the pairing of Max and Red Bull is, where I'm literally confident that Max is going to be snatching the majority of wins this year. But sadly, this makes Formula 1 extremely predictable, which is something the F1 community just cannot admit. Now, in a community post, I asked you guys, is F1 boring? And some of you guys admitted that yes, it is. However, majority of you guys chose the debatable option, which I think is the best answer. Meaning to say that F1 being boring is a bit of a 50-50. However, there are so many people in F1 media that just can't admit this. And I think this clip of Jeremy Clarkson and Martin Brundle perfectly sums things up. Like, Martin didn't even listen to what Clarkson had to say when he criticized the Formula 1 season.
It's a strange thing to go from one year to the next and for so little to have changed.
Yeah, good stuff. So you're right. You're right.
Listening to me, were you?
Not really, no.
Now, Jeremy actually had a very strong point here, which explains the problem of predictability in Formula 1, making the sport awfully uninteresting. Like, we went from one year to the next, and the only noticeable difference is that Alpine and McLaren switched places. Oh, and we're hearing the Dutch anthem 24 times this year instead of 19. But everything else remains unchanged, and Red Bull's domination continues. So this makes Formula 1 predictable and boring, right? Well, not exactly. It's a bit more confusing than that. You see, Red Bull's domination is just one side of the story, because when we take a look at the other teams apart from Red Bull, Formula 1 is actually far from boring. The field is actually a lot closer than it's ever been. Like, it's so close, we literally have drivers kissing each other in the ass.
Oh, that's all on Hulkenberg, isn't it? Just drifted into the back.
And if you guys don't believe me, here's a quick summary of Bahrain and Saudi Arabia. Nico Hulkenberg actually made a Haas look decent, bringing it into Q3 only to slam into the back of Lance Stroll in lap 1, leaving every Haas fan looking like this. And notice how there's nothing on screen because Haas fans don't exist. Anyways, Charles Leclerc was busy cooking, as in cooking up his tires, as he locks up in turn 10 more than 10 times. Daniel and Yuki also need couples counseling. Carlos Sainz drove phenomenally in Bahrain and was about to do it again in Saudi Arabia until God said nuh-uh. So then Ollie Behrman took his spot and nearly knocked out a 7-time world champion and decided to drive better than everyone else. Like, just take a look of this video of Ollie Behrman meeting Jenson Button after such an amazing drive.
Not do anything silly, not slip up. So, how you doing, man?
Hi, Jenson Button?
Yeah, I'm doing an interview at the moment.
Oh my God, can I just get your autograph, please? Oh, brilliant, I love you.
Who shall
You're
I dedicate it to?
Big Bear?
Okay.
Anyways, Kevin Magnussen defended like a lion in Jeddah and got so many penalties thrown at him that he had to stay a night in jail. Alex Albon had some crazy moments in the race as well, and Daniel Ricciardo spun his hopes and dreams away from ever getting a Red Bull seat. Now, with that race recap, a lot of you might be thinking now that, oh, I guess Formula 1 isn't boring at all, right? Well, it kind of still is. Now, do you see this graph right here? This is what I call the Formula 1 boring chart. Now, you don't have to agree with me on this, but it's probably the most base take you'll ever hear. Now, you see these two right here, Max and Checo? Boring. And when we drop down to the 8 below, these guys are the no noticeable difference. But then we drop down 5 positions and we have peak F1 entertainment. And then we drop 3 more positions, this is pain. And then we drop 2 more positions, we have Alpine. But that essentially explains how boring F1 is right now. Now, I'm not sure if you guys noticed, but most of the things that I've mentioned in the race recaps are literally battles between cars outside of the points. To be more specific, battles between cars that are from P11 to P18, because 19 and 20 already belong to Alpine. But this is where the problem comes in. Cars fighting for positions in Formula 1 may not be predictable from P2 and below, but when it comes to who's winning the title and winning races, you can already see that from a mile away, and it's Sid from Ice Age. Now, only seeing battles outside of the top 3 does not exactly bother us pure motorsport fans, like including myself, because I swear to God, we could literally just watch battles for like P72 and we would still be dancing up and down like absolute monkeys the moment we see an awesome overtake. Like, some of us Formula 1 fans don't care whether it's for a podium, points, or not. Like, all we want to see is some racing action. But for the majority of Formula 1 fans, the fact that they're only seeing battles between cars outside of the points and barely that much action at the top makes the sport harder to find exciting than watching paint dry. Alright guys, qualifying is up here. Max Verstappen is probably gonna get pole again. Now, I don't know if I should look at this or if I should look at, the wall.
I think I'm just gonna look at the wall.
A lot of new Formula 1 fans have also started to bash the sport because they have the impression that Max is gonna win every single time, and this makes F1 not very fan-friendly. Now, I really understand this because not everyone can be a pure motorsports fan and have fun seeing tractors fight against each other. You know, most of the time, people watch the sport just to see the winner, especially if they support a top team as well. Like McLaren fans, the most they can hope for right now is Lando Norris getting P4 in a race, and as for Ferrari fans, Charles Leclerc getting pole isn't even exciting anymore because they know he's gonna lose it anyway right after lap 1. Like, you know it's gotten bad when Red Bull fans are literally begging for Max to have more competition against him. Like, I am 99% sure Max probably cries in his Red Bull because he's so lonely in a race after making a 2-hour gap from Sergio Perez. So overall, because we know Max is always going to win the majority of races, F1 has become boring. But the thing is, it's not at the same time. It just depends on how you choose to enjoy the sport. Some people choose to support backmarker teams, meaning that they get excited over battles on track regardless of position. And some support top teams, meaning that they can't have high expectations of a race result, especially because Max is already predicted to win that race along with Perez in P2. And this actually brings us to another issue, which is this. Because F1 is so predictable and boring at the top but isn't at the bottom, this brings us to the issue that the sport is actually really restricting. What I mean by that is that when we watch the 2024 Formula 1 season, it's really restricting for us to only be able to have fun watching the sport, looking at the battles for P11 to P15, which can be pretty exciting sometimes, like Kevin Magnussen's defense in Saudi Arabia.
Side by side, Albon goes, that is a tap, that is damage, and Ocon profited.
But oftentimes these battles are without purpose, especially when these drivers are not even fighting for points. Like, what are they even fighting for? Whoever gets their ego the least shattered? Like, this is the average F1 viewing experience in 2024.
Oh my god, I cannot wait for this, I'm so excited. Oh my god, Charles! Oh my god, Charles locked up! This is just crazy! Oh shit, we're already in Saudi Arabia?
Now, the fact that we're literally restricted to only be able to have fun watching the sport by looking at fights outside of the podium is a huge problem. Maybe not so much for older fans, since domination in Formula 1 is something that we are pretty used to, but it's definitely for those who just got into the sport. But what's even worse is that despite Formula 1 being so predictable, there is no solution to this problem.
Wait, what if I just... Let me go ahead and do that. Holy shit! I have never been this entertained my entire life.
Okay, never mind. That's actually a pretty decent solution. But realistically though, we can't just tell Red Bull and Max to stop winning. That's like giving someone GTA 6 and telling them not to play it. Like, Max is merely doing his job and he just so happens to be really good at it. Plus, Red Bull has developed a car so fast that Checo can literally drive all the way to bumfuck New Mexico, drive back to the racetrack and still finish in P2. So to tell Red Bull to just stop winning is not a viable solution. But me being, you know, the most dedicated Formula 1 fan that I am, even if I fell asleep in like the middle of the past 2 races, there is actually a top secret solution to fix F1 being boring at the top. Now, please don't tell Red Bull this, but also Alpine. And why? Well, you see Esteban Ocon right there? Turn off his brakes and send him flying into turn 1, taking the ever-living soul out of Max. And if all else fails, send Pierre Gasly straight into turn 2, and there you have it. Max Verstappen has been sent to Kingdom Fuck, and we now have the most entertaining F1 season in history. That right there, ladies and gentlemen, is what I call the Baguette Special Operations Team. The same team that the US used to take out Osama bin Russell. But realistically though, us fans can't really do anything, and F1 has already made regulations that work to promote closer racing. Therefore, the only solution to this problem can only come from the other 9 F1 teams finally stepping up their game. So to sum things up, as much as you want to refuse to admit it, Formula 1 is extremely predictable. But this predictability, especially at the top step of F1, has made it boring for some viewers, as the F1 viewing experience has become really restricted as we we have to rely on battles outside of the top 3 or even the top 10 to get some solid entertainment. And the solution to this issue is not to hate on Max or Red Bull, so the only option for us is to literally pray that other teams step up their game. But not gonna lie, I'm a pretty big fan of the, Baguette Special Operations team. Now I'm gonna assume a lot of you guys are probably thinking of not watching F1 this year and just skipping the entire season because of everything I've said throughout this video, but I don't suggest you do that. Because even as predictable as Formula 1 can be, it is still prone to having some awesome races and unpredictable moments. So let's just try to be as positive as possible, even if, I've been pretty negative throughout this entire video, but maybe, just maybe, we could have some interesting race moments soon. But anyways, as predictable as Formula 1 can be, it still has a lot to offer, and us fans can really hope for the best. And also maybe for Christian Horner to, send Jos Verstappen a pic of his wheelie so that Max ends up in Mercedes next year. But at the end of the day, Formula 1 is still the only solid piece of entertainment that we all have. So that's why I find myself watching this sport for like the 5th consecutive year, even if it fucking sucks ass.